In case you're wondering, what is this loan charge? It's better if an expert tells you rather than me. And we have Keith Gordon with us, a tax barrister at Temple Tax Chambers. Keith, very good evening.
Evening, Iain. You asked what the loan charge is.
Yes.
Well, it's worse than you described it.
Okay.
Because you first cited that the loan charge was an unethical piece of legislation. Then you sort of backtracked and said, well, maybe it's ethical, but it's being abused. It is fundamentally unethical legislation. And you also talked about the fact that the revenue can normally go back 4 years, 6 years, etc. The whole problem with the loan charge is they were going back for tax that the workers who are being demanded, subject to the loan charge, didn't even owe. I'll explain. Contractors were working for organisations which were paying them, deducting money which the contractors thought was tax, because normally if you're a worker you have to suffer tax at source under PAYE, but was actually being pocketed by these umbrella companies as pure profit. The revenue should have been going after those umbrella companies. Not all umbrella companies are dodgy, but there were some umbrella ones, some which were. They should have been going after those companies and saying, you should be deducting PAYE, you weren't deducting PAYE, we want that money. The revenue missed the boat. And they suddenly realised, we've gone for the wrong people. So they introduced the loan charge to create a tax liability that mirrored the umbrella company's liability and insisted on demanding it from the workers themselves.
And the workers could never have envisaged that this could happen.
Absolutely. And they couldn't afford it because they'd earned their money, they'd had the deductions, and over many years, most people spend what they earn. Very few people are able to afford to save and build up large sums of capital to face unexpected tax bills.
So the legislation in 2016, if HMRC had said, well, we need to change the law because there is a loophole, so in future, this is what's going to happen, that would have been fine. But instead, they went back to people going back to the 1990s.
They didn't need a change of law. The law has always been that tax was deductible at source when the payments were first made by the umbrella companies. The umbrella companies should have paid the tax over to HMRC. No law needed to be changed. The loan charge was introduced just solely so that HMRC could put effectively a figurative gun to the head of the workers to say, we want the tax that we should have collected from someone else.
So the government still say, or the HMRC, presumably having put words into Nigel Huddleston, the Treasury Minister's mouth today, they still justify it on the basis that this tax was owed and therefore, on behalf of the taxpayer, we're going to collect it, come what may.
This tax was owed, but not by the workers. And even when tax is genuinely owed by to HMRC, if HMRC are too late to collect it, then the rules, not just in tax law, but generally they're limitation laws. Fundamental concept of justice in this country is that after a certain period of time, debt's effectively written off. So, but yes, the tax was owed, but by the umbrella companies, and the revenue sort of stop there and just leave it as tax was owed. They don't actually say who owed it.
Do you agree with me that this has the potential to be as big as the post office scandal?
It has the potential. It is just as abhorrent.
And it's essentially a case of a government organisation, which is what HMRC is. In fact, it's more of a government organisation than the post office, isn't it?
Yes.
It is a government organisation using its huge powers against ordinary people.
Precisely. And a series of ministers being gullible or refusing to listen to the suffering of the ordinary people because they're more interested in their own political careers going forward.
Well, as I say, there are an increasing number of politicians who see that this is something that needs to be addressed. I was very interested to see Darren Jones, who's a good friend of this programme. He's the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury. He's very familiar with this, having been the chair of the Business Select Committee before. I mean, he called on the government to see sense today, and you would hope that if he's a Treasury Minister in a new Labour government, that he might actually do something on this, and I think there are many of us will try and hold him to account if he doesn't.